Would you please welcome our next reader, Daisy Satoda.
The red coat. The eerie wail of foghorns welcomed us as we disembarked from the ferry. We stepped into the soft, swirling fog of a typical summer evening in San Francisco, windy, bone-chilling, and misty. I buttoned up my bright red, all-wool overcoat, the fabric enveloping my body in a warm cocoon. Oops.
It's supposed to be that.
We had been released 2 days earlier on August 29, 1945, from the Topaz, Utah concentration camp, our home during World War II. I had recently graduated from Topaz High School. Topaz was a self-contained and self-governed city where we had lived in isolation and had no contact with the world beyond the barbed wire fence that had imprisoned us. Now hundreds of miles away from Topaz and frightened by the cacophony of noises in this bustling city, my younger sisters, Elsie and Nancy, clung to my arms. I pulled them along while feeling their shock, since there were no streets, sidewalks, cars, traffic, or outdoor lighting of any kind in Topaz. For the past 3 years, we had not seen any type of vehicle except for the army trucks that delivered food and coal to each block. We had no transportation of any kind. When we walked on dirt roads past open ditches, we did not pass stores, movie theaters, hotels, or restaurants because Topaz had none. Soon we were mesmerized by the electric traffic lights, which alternately changed from green to amber to red. The towering heights of the skyscraper office buildings overwhelmed us. Our necks swerved in huge arcs as the street lights turned on, almost blinding us with their brightness. In contrast, Topaz was one-dimensional. Everything was flat, drab, dry, and colorless. There was very little greenery, no trees, and some scattered vegetable gardens. Our home was a bare army barrack shared with several other families, furnished only with cots and a cast iron pot-belly stove. Our daily routine, like the landscape, was monotonous, arising each morning, eating our 3 meals at the mess hall, attending school, playing a bit, showering, and then to bed. Details like what we wore ceased to matter because we all dressed alike. Heavy government-issued black mackinaws, which were surplus items from World War I. Having been uprooted from our homes in the moderate climates of the West Coast, we did not have warm clothing to withstand the -0-degree winters of Utah. In our camp clothing, we couldn't fully express ourselves in our individuality. What we wore was extremely limited because we ordered similar clothing from the mail-order catalogs, which served as our fashion Bibles. Placed under so many restrictions, we had become numbed by life in Topaz. Here in San Francisco, the world stood in vivid contrast to Topaz. As we looked around the ferry building, we noted that the majority population was white people who were stylishly dressed. Suddenly, I wanted to look like them and to be part of the city scene. I wanted to claim the streets as my own without the stares or hushed whispers of each passerby who must have heard that we Japanese Americans had been released from the camps and were resettling in the western coastal states. Just then I turned around and noticed the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows of the ferry building where I saw my full-length reflection. I was crestfallen. My beautiful red coat, the one I cherished as my prized article of clothing, now looked like a bargain basement hot sale item. Just a few months earlier, I had poured through the mail order catalog to select this coat as my graduation present from Papa, which I had proudly worn to my senior prom, even though it was about 110 degrees that evening. I treasured that coat, especially since it cost more than one half of my father's monthly pay of $16 as a dishwasher in our mess hall. I was startled from my trance by Nancy shouting, "Look, Sister Kay is finally here." Only as we were pulling away from the curb did it dawn on me that my red coat did not make a fashion statement. No, it looked exactly like what it was, an inexpensive $8.98 coat from a mail-order catalog. Beautiful when I wore it in topaz, here in San Francisco, the coat was looked upon as a cheaply made piece of clothing that no one even noticed.
Turn is haunted. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think we're okay. Let's hope so, because I'm pretty sure the next reader is an attorney. Will you please welcome Tony Serra?
Attorney's a fancy word. I'm a lawyer. I'm also a tax resister, so every decade I do a little time in the federal system. On the last occasion, being older, not worked brutally for, more hours than they should give us, I was able to write a few things. But I'm not a writer, I am a lawyer, so these in total were kind of like a mosaic on what federal prison camp is like. I'm going to read one short one tonight just to give the flavor. I see no cats on prison grounds. Fuck the rat who snitched me off. Fuck his father, fuck his mother. An inmate in a wheelchair screamed the foregoing to a large, watchful gathering of approximately 50 inmates and a dozen guards. He had been taken into custody. An outlawed cell phone was found somewhere on his person or in the wheelchair he used. He was paralyzed by a drive-by gunshot while on the street. He knew that a rat had tipped the authorities of the whereabouts of his phone. The guards circled him while he screamed his epithets, but did not touch him. The inmates froze in awe. He was thereupon wheeled away, headed for the hole, i.e. isolation, cell, punishment. The guards of that hour remained, and all the inmates had been ordered out of the sleeping barracks. They searched each of us, and then searched all inmate lockers. The phone incident became a dormitory raid. Dogs were brought in to also smell for drugs. It was a law enforcement show of force. It was overkill for a simple mobile phone contraband arrest. Later that afternoon, while watering, the normal camp administrator asked me if I had seen any cats around the grounds. They wanted to trap and remove all stray cats on the compound. I knew where they were located, but with "fuck the rat" still ringing in my ears from earlier that day, there was no way that I would inform on anything, not even a cat.